Hello everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Adventures in Metaphysics. And I am really excited about the tag we're doing today that was just put out by Candy, Soul, and Soil, and that is her top 10 curiosity decks. I'm hoping I got that right, but I'll make it the title. But I'm pretty sure it's top 10 curiosity decks. So the idea is to show 10 of your decks that you think could kind of be put in a curiosity cabinet of sorts. So it could be anything from maybe they just are a little strange, or just decks that gotta go their own direction. You know, they don't like follow the usual things. I guess that's kind of how I interpreted based on the decks that Candy showed. So without further ado, let's get into the decks that I chose, because as soon as I was watching that video, my head was spinning about like, oh my gosh, which ones like would I pick? So let's start out with the Curiosity Queen, Holly Audley. So as soon as I saw that tag, I was like, oh my gosh, I would put in any of my Holly Audley decks. She just loves curiosities and does a lot of her artwork around the idea of curiosities and things of that sort. So I had to pick one of her decks, and I decided we were going to go with my OG, and that is the Bonaventure Cemetery Divination deck. This is my first one of hers that I got, and I was actually able to get it. If I'm remembering right, they had already sold out, and then she had some factory seconds, I believe, and that's how I was able to get this deck. But each card is its own little symbol. Are we focusing? Why does that not seem focused? Come on. Come on. Huh? Well, oh well. So each card has its own symbol here. And I just love these peach colors, and her artwork just is so different and really just gives off that curiosity feel. And then you get the little guidebook to go with it. So it almost reminds me a bit of like a Lenormand deck, where each card is its own symbol. You get a number and just the name of the object that's on it. And then you have a little guidebook that tells you what that means. But everything in here is just a little bit creepy. It is based on, I believe there is a Bonaventure Cemetery in Georgia where Holly lives that it's based on. She has this one and another one that are based on graveyards that she visits. So, I mean, this is just perfect for a curiosity cabinet. I love this one. I love how that door looks. It's very, like, Victorian era creepy, you know? But in the most beautiful way. It's just so funny. I love this deck. So that takes the first spot in my deck curiosity cabinet, and that is the Bonaventure Cemetery Divination deck. Now, our next one is, we'll go with this one that I've showed before, the Anecdotes Tarot. This is one that I don't see around often, and it does take its own direction, and admittedly in a way that I don't understand yet. I'm gonna take the time to learn. Anyway, let me get into what this one is about. So this is a deck based off of the music of the harpist Joanna Newsom? I think that's the name. Who I'm not familiar with. Not even a little bit, but I got the deck because of the artwork. It's huge, and I've trimmed this. So it used to be bigger. It had these borders all the way around, but I trimmed it so that I could at least hold it this way. And I just love this artwork. That's what really drew me to this deck. And you don't need to, I mean, I can attest to that you don't need to know Joanna Newsom's music to understand or to be able to read with it, because it does follow RWS pretty closely. Oh my gosh, it's all twisted around. But I do think that would add an interesting an interesting layer to it. So I really should take the time. You get a PDF guidebook with the deck, and each of the interpretations shows certain lyrics or a certain song that it is referring to. So you can go through and listen to all of the songs with each of the cards. So I do want to do that, because as much as I have griped about this deck and like don't really use it, I just love it so much. And I know it's sticking around, so I'm gonna one of these days take the time to get to know it. But it's just such beautiful artwork. I don't think you can get this one anymore, unfortunately, but the creator, Eve, is it on the box? It's not. Eve Lepowski, I think. Her Instagram handle is clownmonger, but she is making a Lenormand deck in this same artwork. So if you like Lenormand and you like this artwork, you are in luck eventually. So that is the Anecdotes Tarot. As my second curiosity, my next one I want to do is, a new one for me. And that is the Notorious JBG Tarot by Peekaboo Rose, which I just shared my first impressions of. This one gets to go in purely out of just the little bit of creepiness of the artwork, which I know some people hate, some people love, but obviously since I have it, I am in the love category. I think they are I love anything that's cute and creepy, and this fits that bill to a T. It's just really different. I really love how she's paired with the Jasmine Beckett Griffiths art with the tarot. I think she did such a good job matching everything up, and all the images are just a little bit weird. But I love it. I love it so much. I mean, how cute are they? They've got the weird baby doll eyes for sure. Oh, I love this card. I love when the fairies pop up. But I think the sun card is my favorite. I want to show that. I got that one the other day and I was so excited about it because it's my favorite card. Then we can move on to the next one, I promise. But I gotta show it. Did I already go past it? Oh no, there it is. How cute! Isn't that cute? Looks like a little like Bratz fairy. I don't know. That's what these remind me of, are like Bratz dolls. So this is the Notorious JBG Tarot. And my next one, I feel like I'm talking fast again. We're gonna try and slow down. My next one is, we're gonna do, gosh, I don't know the artist of this one, but it is the Home Oracle. I don't know the artist. Crew Chai Awakening Art is their Facebook page, and I believe their Instagram page. They are Taiwanese, I believe, because the deck came from Thailand. I got it on Etsy, but this one really is just so different. So the artist is actually an art therapist, so all of the cards are created through that lens. So it's really, and it has great keywords too, but it's really interesting to go through and read the keywords and try and reason out how that's really portrayed in the artwork. And it's almost like every time it's the feeling that's portrayed, which I think is super cool, which is the whole idea of, you know, art therapy, is that it is portraying a very specific feeling. So I just find it to be such a powerful one because the artwork, I feel like really pulls the feeling out of you. It's not just kind of illustrating the idea, it's illustrating the exact feeling, which I think is so interesting. Like, look at this, for responsibility. You have this body here that is like up to its neck in water, and then a house as a head, trying to keep everything afloat. Like, doesn't it just gives you a very certain feeling. So I love this one, and I just think it really goes its own direction. And I mean, the artwork is also just beautiful. So cool. Like abundance, and you have all this greenery kind of crowding the card almost. Really cool. So that is the home oracle, but it's kind of, it stands for something. Because it's, you can see it's kind of meant to be an acronym. Let's find what that is. Because I'm pretty sure it said it in here. I knew it at one point. Oh, home for H, Om is O, mindfulness for M, and etheric body and eternity for E. How interesting is that? I just think it's the coolest. So that is the home oracle for number 4. Now, let's go through, okay, these are 2 decks that I received in that box from Andy that I've not gotten to really explore yet, but for sure, like, I've set them aside because I'm like, I know I need to explore these decks. And the first one is the Messenger cards, Guidance from Animal Spirits by Sandra Coons. So these ones have all different animal images, but it doesn't give the name of the animal, it gives a keyword here. Enter the, which I just feel like the keywords are so interesting, like the butterfly with new creation, fertile ground. This deck is just really interesting and cool, and maybe it's just me, but I hadn't seen it beforehand until I got it in that box. I hadn't heard of it, I hadn't seen it, which, again, maybe that's just me. I love that card. The Kingdom. So interesting. But I feel like it's different than some of the other animal decks I have, because usually they kind of name the animal and then also a keyword, but this one just kind of gives very interesting, not even keywords always, like ideas to go with the animals. So interesting. And it's just, I just feel like it's a little different. So this is the Messenger cards, and that is number 5. Now, the second one that I have from that box is one that I really had never seen before, and it is the Small Spells Tarot by Rachel Howe. These, I feel like I'm just gonna say going their own direction. Let's think of a different sentence. These now my mind is blanking. These take things its own way. There's a synonym. So it has a whole big guidebook that I have back there, but each of the cards has symbols that when you read the guidebook makes total sense, but it is really the artist's personal symbols to go with it. So it's not like, oh, there's that deck that came out that breaks down the Rider-Waite-Smith cards into symbols, but like that have to do with the Rider-Waite-Smith interpretation. I can't think of what that one's called. Tarot Disassembled, maybe? Something Disassembled. So you'd think that this is what that is, kind of, when you first look at it, but it's completely the artist's own interpretations. And it's really, when you read the guidebook, it's super interesting, but it's one that, you know, I'm really gonna have to learn. Because it's not, you know, I'm gonna have to get to know her way of thinking about the cards, which I think is really cool. It's such a personal deck, I feel like, but not so much so where I feel like I won't be able to relate to it if I just put in some work getting to know it, which I do plan to. And I know a few people have asked for a flip through of this, so we will do that. I've just kind of been wondering, the reason I haven't done it yet is because when I started to film one, and as I was going through the cards, I was also going in the guidebook trying to explain all of the symbols, and it was just gonna be like a 3-hour long video. So I'm trying to decide if I should just do a flip through and not really make commentary about it, or if I want to do it as like a deck study, kind of like Sandy at Exploring Tarot is doing with the Forest of Enchantment, where she's going through a few cards at a time and really diving into them, which I think is super cool. Maybe that's what I'm gonna do. Now that I say that out loud, let me know if that interests you at all. Again, I know like this isn't one that maybe a lot of people might have. It could just be me again, but I hadn't seen this one before. So like the Forest of Enchantment, a lot of people have. So it's fun to like follow along with her video. So I don't know if this wouldn't really be the same, but let me know your thoughts. But I love this one. I think that's what we're gonna do. Every time I bring it out, I'm like, I want to know all the things. I want to know everything she's thinking and be in her head, kind of. So that is the Small Spells Tarot by Rachel Howe. Did I say that before? I have Coons stuck in my head from the messenger cards. So this is number 6. For number 7, you know what? We're going on the Andy train, and this deck is called the Tarot of Feeling by Andy herself. She is Andy the Wildflower on Instagram, and she does have a website where you can buy these. And I just think this deck is really interesting and different. So each of the cards, it's a photography deck, but I don't know, something about it just feels really different and special, and I think it's because you see like all different kinds of characters in this deck. So I do believe they're found images, and she pairs them up so well. But the cool thing about that is you just really get, again, like this really interesting cast of characters. And I find I really like having this one at work, because when I'm pulling for myself at home, I think the reason I tend to not use decks that have people is because I like being in sort of this magical space I've created, and I don't know if this is gonna sound like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not naive, but I can't think of the word. I kind of like staying contained in that, if that makes sense. And sometimes I feel like when it's like too modern or has real people in it, it pulls me right out of that. So I tend not to use these kinds of decks for my pulls at home. But I discovered that at work, since it's a space where I have to be relating to people and I'm dealing directly with the public, this kind of deck has been amazing. Well, this deck specifically has been so awesome. So this one lives in my work bag, actually, and I pull from it every single day when I get to work, and it just makes me feel like I'm equipped to, again, like deal with that public. So it's just really interesting, and I don't feel like I've seen other decks like that. Handsome! So yeah, this one really surprised me in a good way. So this is the Tarot of Feeling by, did we get her full name? Andy Taylor. Couldn't remember. I know it's Andy, but I was like, oh my gosh. I feel like I've just not noticed the last name. Anyhow, that is number 7. And for number 8, we are going to bring out one that I feel like I've just been talking about all the time because it became such a fast favorite. And that is the Carnival at the End of the World Tarot, which I'm sure most of us have seen, but it's such a weird, interesting deck that undeniably goes its own way. With its interpretations and illustrations, it's just really, really different, and it's world building. And I instantly, when I heard Curiosities, I was like, well, what better than something based on like a really wacky carnival? Because I put those kinds of things in the same group. I feel like you see Curiosities, or would have seen like a curiosity tent at like an old Victorian carnival or something. And I feel like all the characters in here would have been there. Oh, it's just so... I love this deck so much. It's so weird and wonderful. It's such a favorite. And it just really puts me in that kind of like weird, wonderful, magical world that I like to be in. While still letting me know what I need to hear. Because the guidebook is amazing. And that one, I love what it's called. It's Madame Lulu's Book of Fate. I think it just adds another layer to it and just really feels like a curiosity to me. So that is number 8, and it is the Carnival at the End of the World Tarot. Oh, I'm zooming through. Oh my goodness. How much time? Oh yeah, I really am zooming. I'm hoping I'm not kind of rushing through too quickly. I don't feel like I'm talking fast. Maybe I am though. We'll find out. Or I guess if you tell me, I'll find out, because if I'm gonna be honest, I don't go through and edit my videos, because if I tried to edit out every time I had to take a pause to try and remember something, it would take me too long, so it's always me uncut. So, in our 9th spot, also this is no particular order, I'm just kind of grabbing at random. So, in our 9th spot, we have the Grandmother's Oracle by Kara, I'm forgetting her last name too, and I've said it a million times, Kara Simons. Now, this is also one I feel like I just don't see around a lot, so that's kind of what made me think of it as well, but also I feel like the concept of taking things in nature and animals and giving them a grandmother energy is just so spectacular and different. It just gives off a different feeling than if, like, for example, like Grandmother Bear, just putting it in the lens of a grandmother energy makes it feel worlds different than if I pulled a card from another deck that just said bear. If that makes sense. It just, adding that word grandmother, and in the guidebook, you know, it obviously goes off of that as well, really makes it like so special and different and spiritual almost. And these are all photographs. But this is the Grandmother's Oracle, but if you haven't seen on her Instagram, her and Mari in the Sky are working on the sort of remake of this deck. So Kara created, it's called Spirit of the Grandmothers. Why does that not sound right? I think it's Spirit of the Grandmothers? Oh my gosh. I think that's what it's called. Or Grandmother Spirit. I'm not remembering, but it's one of those. And she had Mari in the Sky, who created the Gentle Tarot, completely illustrate the deck. So it's no longer going to be these photographs, but the most beautiful illustrations. I love Mari in the Sky's artwork, and that's her Instagram. I feel like I always call her that because that's her Instagram handle, so that's always what I see. I'm not sure of her last name, but Mari has just the really, her art feels so connected to nature, which is really cool because this is such a nature-rooted deck, and I just love what Kara has done with this idea. And I love this version of it, I really do, but I have to say I'm very excited to see the new one. So this was my 9th spot, and it was the Grandmother's Oracle. And last but not least, this is my newest deck. I got this last week, and I feel like I'm probably gonna eat my own words eventually, but I feel like getting this deck for some reason, just like, I had such this feeling of kind of like, I'm good for a bit now. Like, for some reason, this is what I was looking for, and I'm gonna spend some time with it and some of my other ones that I'm really excited about, and like, I'm satisfied for now. I think it's just because, okay, let me tell you what it is. It is the Tarot of the She, which I made this bag from the hand-dyed yarn I got from Winterberry's Yarn, which is in New Jersey, when I visited my sister, and I got these little abalone shell charms. I think I have a little bit of this yarn left. I do think I'm going to make another bag and put it for sale in my shop tomorrow. I'm posting this on Saturday, so I'm gonna do a shop update tomorrow, Sunday. And if I could get it done, there might be a bag that looks similar to this. We'll see. Anyway, so this is the Tarot of the She. And I have been very, very interested in working with the Fae. And obviously this is a fairy deck. And it's one that just feels really different when you have it in your hands. I mean, the artwork, that's what made me think of it, was just the artwork is so different, and the system kind of goes its own way a little bit. It has keywords, which I really love, and it just feels really connected. And I don't really know how to explain that. It feels like very similar to my Brian Froud Fairies Oracle, but even like a little bit different, because I mean, I love that oracle, and it's nice to use to get sort of an archetype or an energy that is trying to reach out, but I like using the tarot more as like a ongoing communication, if that makes sense. So I've been really interested in that work lately, and just earth element work in general is my thing. So that's what I was trying to say, where I feel like I've just been on a real fairy kick recently, and that's the work I want to be doing. So now that I have this one and it just feels right, and my Fairies Oracle, I know that like while I'm continuing to do this work, this is like, I'm just gonna be obsessed with this, you know? That's what I'm trying to say. Again, maybe I'll eat my own words, but who knows? I'm feeling very satisfied with my decks right now, is what I'm trying to say, which is besides the point of this video. And there's nothing wrong if I do find another one that I think will add something to my practice, but I'm going on a tangent, so curiosities. This artwork is just really different. The way it looks at tarot is really, really different, and it just brings fairies to life. Not that, I mean, I think they're always around. It's funny, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was saying that like this work with fairies feels more right than anything else I've ever tried, and I just had the realization that fairies are the one like mystical, magical thing or creature that in my brain I've never once questioned that they're real, which is interesting because I can be such a skeptic. But whenever I think about the idea of fairies, I'm like, oh, like, yeah, but of course they're real. Of course they're there. Like, who doesn't think that? So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's like taken me this long to put in like a real effort to work with them, because it makes so much sense. Anyways, I'm on a tangent. Yeah, so this is my 10th deck. My 10th curiosity deck, and it's just about that artwork. It's so different. I know a lot of people have and use and love this deck, so I'm really excited to be a part of that now because I get it. I never thought I was going to get this deck because, if I'm gonna be honest, the artwork totally put me off at first. And I just saw so many people raving about it, and I was like, why? Like, the artwork is so like wacky and At the time, I thought weird, I'm not gonna lie. But again, when you have it in your hands, I feel like it's just like an energy attached to it almost, that it makes a lot of sense and it's really powerful and connected, like I said. Anyhow, I will stop going on my tangents and rambling because that was the 10th curiosity deck. So I hope you all enjoyed taking a look into my tarot collection curiosity cabinet, we'll say. I had so much fun doing this tag, so thank you to Candy, Soul, and Soil for just being so creative and putting this out in the world, because I had so much fun getting to do this. But anyhow, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.